My name is Dan Finucane, and I'm currently a regent. I love folk music, blues music, and I love singing and playing with other people.
My name is Ian Peoples. I'm a Jesuit regent. I'm kind of a football fanatic. Most of my weekends are spent watching at least a few games. I'm probably one of the biggest Lionel Messi fans. Welcome back to MagisTalk, where we explore the question, where is God calling me today? I'm your host, Ian Peoples, and I'm joined by my friend and Jesuit brother, Dan Finucane. This coming week is Holy Week, when as Catholic Christians, we walk with Jesus as he spends his last days with his disciples, shares a last meal, is arrested, tortured, and crucified.
As we reflected on what we wanted to do for our episode this week, we thought it'd be good to invite some men that we've gotten to know in our ministry at Belize Central Prison. The reason behind this is that Jesus identifies himself with people who are in prison. We see this in Matthew 25. And we want to listen to the men who are currently in prison because we believe that in a particular way, Jesus is present in them and their experience, especially when we consider Jesus' own experience of being abandoned, betrayed, arrested, tortured, imprisoned, crucified. So often, when we think of prisoners as an abstract category of people, we lose sight of the humanity underneath. So by listening to the experiences of people who are incarcerated, we see that their humanity, their individuality, their dignity becomes more and more visible to us. Our two guests today are Lane Greenidge and Dennis Talbert. Both are currently serving time at Belize Central Prison. And as we listen to Lane and Dennis today, we hope their stories can help us understand Jesus' story even more. And as a result, perhaps we will see our own stories in a different light.
So we actually already conducted the interview on site at Belize Central Prison. Yours truly did the camera work, so for whatever poor lighting or unfocused camera angles or whatever, that's my fault, I'm sorry, but there's great content from both of our guys. They really share from the depths of their experience, and we're really grateful that they were willing to share their stories because these are sacred stories, as all of our stories are. First we have Lane Greenidge. Lane grew up in the city, and as a teenager, he had a good job. We'll let him tell you more.
Before I was lost, I was angry, I was hurt, I had very low self-esteem. I never felt anything good about myself. I never felt anything good about anything. When I look back further, I would say I did have a sense of living a sensible or a productive life from the experience that I had while working at Youth for the Future, that is now currently known as Belize Youth Service. That experience that I had at that organization, that's a government organization that deals with youths and a different range of social issues or aspects. And I started off in the youth group, but at that time I wasn't enrolled in any college or any school, so I had more time to be around the organization. And starting off in the youth group, then being promoted in a sense to say, to be given an opportunity to be an employee as a office assistant. Running around carrying the mails and delivering, pick up stuff, personal errands and stuff like that. And as time went by, the promotion became even greater because I got an opportunity to be a program officer under the supervision of some very respectable people today.
When we think of folks in prison, we often think of people who've always been involved in criminal activity or gang life. But Lane upends that stereotype, because what happens to him is something that happens to a lot of youth here in Belize due to lack of opportunity.
Then in 2008, when there was a new government came in, and I was relieved of my duties, or I was fired, and then it was when I was introduced more or deeper into the streets. And for 13 years, I suffered mentally, emotionally, in the challenges, or facing the challenges of life as a young person in my country. You know, and the difficulties we face, especially sometimes stereotyping, I would say, has a lot to do with it. You know, probably because you're from a certain area, you're being looked at a certain way. You know, and you don't really get opportunities just like that. You know, it has to be. You have to really. I would now looking at it, I would say you have to be. Those times you would have to be. It was who you know, not what you know.
The reality, as we just heard from Lane's experience, is that it's not always easy for someone to find a job, especially when they haven't finished their education.
Our other guest, Dennis Talbert, is 27 years old. He has a story that's similar to many young men from the city. For Dennis, it wasn't until he went to prison that his life changed.
I grew up in Belize City, south side Belize. That's partly the rough part of the city, right? Due to the violence and all the killing and thing. But I'm strong enough to fight through all of that, right? Basically, I have a nice family and thing, but just my decisions I make caused me to lose my freedom, right? Being back here in a prison, I think it opened up my eyes, right? So I see life a different way now. And especially when I get to meet my higher power, my creator. He liked me in certain things that I'm going to say. And that just make it change my life. For all the negative I used to do in the past, I see life different now. I feel good to do good things.
It was in the Ashcroft Rehabilitation Center, where I work at the prison, that Dennis encountered God in a way that he never had before in his life.
Well, for me, my higher power, I know he as God, right? That's my higher power. And I get to know he, like, during being in prison, right? That's how I get to know my God. Being at ERC, I come closer to him, right? Closer to know him. They do some studies and things. I feel the presence. I feel the presence. He does give me the reason to make this change in my life. Like what I say, give me like a spiritual awakening or something I never feel before. Like I never got a feeling towards that.
Some people might find it difficult to understand how someone could find God in prison. But Dennis talks about how a difficult experience actually led him to seeking God in a deeper way.
Sometimes certain inmates tell life and one another cause of you get locked down, right? When you know how you go, right? When people will tell lie, right? Say that you do bad things or that against the prison rules and then they lock you down for that, right? But sometimes they don't know that. They just do you a favor, because sometimes we need to lock down you. Sometimes we need to lock down you you come closer to the Father, right? Like you're there in your own space, just you one in your cell, and you just hold our vibes and just meditate. You get a stronger communication with the Father. So that's one the next place where I come closer to God. Like in a lockdown, when I'm by myself, nobody there but just me and my higher power. And I feel that connection with Him. So that like they do me a favor, like that downfall, that like what up for me. I see like what up. Because they give me more chance to communicate to Him more and I got less distraction, right?
Dennis's insight is an example of what St. Paul writes to the Romans. He writes, "We know that all things work for the good of those who love God, who are called according to His purpose." God can take the worst circumstances and use them to draw people close to Him. That's the very message of the cross. Our other guest, Lane, shares that he too experienced a change in his life when he came to prison. Now he views his own history alongside the passion, death, and resurrection of our Lord.
Jesus was sold out by His own. He was arrested. He was in prison. He was tortured. And He was nailed to the cross. Then He died. Then He resurrected and went up to heaven and sat on the right hand side of God. When I look at that personal, if I would put that in a personal level for me, a personal spiritual level, I would put it like to say, I went through what Jesus went through, knowing that there were people in my life who said they loved me and was with me and all the good talks. And then when it came time for me to go through what I went through, I was left all alone. Then I came to prison, and that's where I died. But as I continue in the journey of prison and practicing faith and seeing or receiving the blessings, which is the consequences, I would say, or the reward of faith, or of working in good faith, or walking in good faith, I resurrected, feeling a new sense of life, feeling a new sense of hope at a very much higher level than I've ever experienced. And now, if I would say it like this, looking at my future from the way how things is going right now in my life, right now, I am on the right side of God. But of course it has a lot of different aspects with Jesus' story and mine, because Jesus is Jesus and I am me. But the pain that we could imagine He went through, I felt in my personal life, going through my journey to being somebody, or to actually wanting and to living and to want to love and to want to, because yes, when I was being told I was being loved, I didn't even know what was love. So now experiencing the faith on the level that I currently am, I am able to give love in a genuine way, and also the way that I am receiving it, I know that there has to be a God.
Dennis spells out the significance of what Jesus' sacrifice means for us, and that's all of us.
When I think about Jesus for the cross, right? I mean, like, He actually just dedicated to His life for like all different kind of people, good, the bad. He when it comes to He no partial. he just willing, he just always willing for us, like, look out for people. You know, but then say where to, you have to want for your acceptance. You have to want it, right? You have to want it. Everything belongs to you, right? And if you're willing, then he will help you too. But if he actually put for his life on the line, to some of the worstest kind of people, man, that's I don't know, man, but he awesome, man. He awesome.
Not only does Dennis recognize Jesus' sacrifice, but he feels like he has experienced that same sacrifice in his own life.
When I get sentenced, I feel like they nail me for the cross. You know, because when I get sentenced, I have to go front of a judge, right? I know sometimes the judge, they're unjust, right? So when I get sentenced, I feel like they just nail me for the cross. You know, innocently. You know, so my life partly relate to that, right? My life partly relate to that. You know, he do a lot. He do a lot for me, and sometimes we just don't see it. Like, we just don't see what he try to do for we. You know, that's why certain things just happen bad for we, not for we life, until we open for we eyes and see the vision when he got set for we, right? You know, like what I say, I like a living testimony, right? He saved my life, so all the bad things that I used to do in the past, I wash my hand off of that, right? I can't go back to the lifestyle.
Dennis not only identifies with the experience of Jesus being crucified, but he also sees his own story and how Jesus was betrayed by one of his closest followers. But Dennis's story doesn't end with bitterness or anger. He's able to find forgiveness for himself and the friend who betrayed him. And this experience gives him helpful insight on the nature of forgiveness.
Like Jesus, he gone through a lot of temptation, right? If you know that. He gone through betrayal. You know, like as I said, right, he put the trust in us the wrong people, right? Because I know it hurt. Because sometimes people were close to you, if you get betrayed by them, that really hurt. That really hurt, because you're willing to put your life down for that person, and then when he just betray you just like that. You know, that hurt, man. So I know what the Father feel if he gone up on that cross. It's crazy, man. But you know, a loving God, he always forgive. You know, as long as you call to him sincerely for your heart, Jesus will forgive you. You know, because after a while, although you do your bad, you will come to your sense that you did something wrong, right? So sometimes he just wait to make you acknowledge your wrong way to do, and he will say if you are come to him, you know, praise and you know, he will help you, man. He will help me, so I could speak about it, right? Actually, I could say I could relate to it with Jesus and the betrayal and thing, with people close to you, where you put your trust in, will hurt you. I had this friend, right? You know, me and he, like, growing up as kids, you know, as kindergartens and thing, went to the same school, went to the same primary school, went to the same high school, you know, and we graduate together. And I take him as a brother to me, right? You know, and it really hurt me. It really hurt me when he betrayed me, right? It may hard to make I forgive him, right? but it take time. You know, I carry to my higher power, I carry to the Father, right? I carry to the Father in a praise and I think I ask him to make I take that hatred out of my heart where I hold towards him, right? Because you know, somebody where you trust like that, it hurt for you betray. Because I like you just eliminate that person out of your life. You know, because then you trust for him, you got in and then it gone. So like that person I like nothing to you. You know, and I don't like that thinking, I don't like thinking that kind of way there, right? So I ask the Father for forgiveness and myself to make I forgive that person there, where and betray me, right? You know, so that the Father give me the Father give me, he give me a way how I could forgive that person there. Up to today date, me and that person they still hold our communication. You know, we still contact like 2 times for the week. We talk, you know. And I forgive her and I feel no kind of hatred towards her or nothing, right? So, and I know Jesus will forgive the ones that will betray him. I know for a fact that he forgives me. You know, he pray for me. You know, that everything does work out good. You know, and sometimes when like a person betray you, like me feel guilty, right? Like you never think that that person will forgive you for what you do today. You know, like when you sin and you don't know God now, like that, like you commit a murder and you don't know God, you know, like that. You know, like the crime what you do, right? So at first you will feel like you done sin, so you could continue sin, you know, and go on and on, and you feel like the Father now have ears for what you got to tell him. Do you understand me, right? So you not hurt but try, you not hurt to take what try and just get in contact with the Father and just make him know that you sorry for what you done, you know, instead of shy it and just continue to see a craziness over and over. They can hurt for just make one try, you know, see what be the outcome out of it.
We'll hear from Lane about how he has also experienced forgiveness in his relationship with God, but how he experienced it particularly through his relationship with his family. One of the core aspects of our faith is a constant call to conversion, which literally means to turn around. Lane experiences this call after getting drunk and getting into a fight with his family. That fight was the culmination of problems that he had had with drinking and the way that drinking was destroying its connection to those who were closest to him.
I was born in a well-disciplined, well-organized family. And as I grew older, as every relationship, in the beginning it's always sweet. But as you go along, well, in my life, as I grew older, I ended up making some mistakes, or making some bad choices. And the choices that I was making that was bad for me cost me the genuine love and respect and support from my family. Who would be the only people in life that would be what you need in life? My mom, my sisters, my brothers, my aunts, my uncles. And the choices I made in life created a distance between us, because they're living life on the right side of the law and I chose to live on the wrong side of the law. I have 2 sisters who are police officers, and they would always be like, Lane, don't do this, Lane, don't do that, Lane, avoid certain friends, Lane, avoid certain, don't be caught up in the criminal lifestyle. And I didn't listen. I was very rebellious in all type of ways. And it destroyed the relationship between my mom and I. I didn't grow up with my biological father. I grew up with stepfathers. My stepfather, who has been a very, very supportive person in my life as well. But still, the choices that I chose to make destroyed our relationship. You know, I remember there was one time, my drinking used to be one of the main things that destroyed me. And I could not give in. I couldn't have done anything else. I always have to be drinking and on a hype. And I remember my mom, I would be hanging out on the corner of the street, and my mom would be coming from work because she's tired, her feet hurt. And I would be on the corner drinking, already drunk, giving trouble, and my mom would pass in shame. But then at that time I didn't really care because I didn't even I wasn't really aware or had a genuine sense of what all these genuine feelings are. So I didn't really care. I was just living for me. I was just living my life. But every time I would have to be in court or at the police station, my mom would be there. It got to the point where I realized that it was causing a problem in the relationship between my mom. So when I saw her coming, when I would see her coming, I would take the drink and hide it so that she don't see me with the drink. Because it got so bad that when she would pass, me and my friends would be hanging out and they would be like, good evening, and she would be good evening out of respect. And when I would say good evening, and she goes off. But I know I understand it was because of the hurt that I was putting her through, you know. And one time, I remember I was invited to a family reunion, and this is what really, really made me change a lot when it comes to the drinking part of my life that contributed to the destructiveness. I was invited to a family reunion for the first time, as they always would have events, and I would not be invited. I wouldn't even have knowledge that these events would be occurring, because everybody knows that when I would drink, I get out of order. I get, you know, I turn a terrorist. And I was invited, and I was invited with stipulations. You can only drink three beers, or, you know. And I went, and the day was going good and everything, and I could remember clearly when I got high, I got drunk, and then it's not like I have vivid memory, but I could remember like different points, like being blocked out and recovered. Like to say, I remember when I looked up, I was laying on the ground, and when I looked up, it was my mom and my brother, my little brother, my younger brother over me, giving me some blows, mainly in my face. And while I was there taking my blows, I was like, why am I going through this? Taking the blows, I was like, man, I need to do better than this. I got up and I was walking on the road. This is like 2-3 o'clock in the morning, miles away from home. And a vehicle stopped for me and took me. But I was crying tears and crying blood. The hurt was from my heart and from my pain. But all was running through my mind was, I need to do better than this. I need to, no matter what I need to do, I need to start doing the right things in life. Look at what I'm going through. If my own family could have me at this point, if I don't get it right, it could be worse. And after that night, I fell in love with my mom. I fell in love with my siblings more. Because I realize and I understand why they did what they did. It was out of frustration and not hate. But the relationship me and my mom have now, the relationship me and my sisters and my siblings have now, God is good. I really am at peace. It makes me get emotional as well because, the way how I am now, I've never been in my life. There's people who are on the sidelines waiting to see what's going to happen next. Okay, yes, he's in prison. He's talking about change. We've heard that song before. I remember writing those lyrics. I remember singing those songs. But this feeling wasn't there. My faith, my spirituality, it wasn't there. So now everything in me now, and things that happens, keeps me going when it comes to the faith.
We're grateful to Dennis and Lane for being on our show today. We hope that their reflections help you enter into Holy Week in a more intentional way, and that as you accompany Jesus in his passion, death, and resurrection, that you remember Dennis and Lane and the many men and women at Belize Central Prison in your prayers. We're also grateful to Mr. Virgilio Murillo, the CEO of Colby Foundation, who granted permission for these interviews to be aired. And to end our time together today, we'd like to read from the first reading that is read on Good Friday. This passage is one of the Suffering Servant, songs found in the book of the prophet Isaiah, and it is this song that points to the suffering that Jesus endured for our sakes. As we read the passage, we invite you to pray with us over these sacred words.
A reading from the book of the prophet Isaiah. See, my servant shall prosper. He shall be raised high and greatly exalted. Even as many were amazed at him, so marred was his look beyond human semblance, and his appearance beyond that of the sons of man. So shall he startle many nations. Because of him, kings shall stand speechless. For those who have not been told shall see. Those who have not heard shall ponder it.
Who would believe what we have heard? To whom has the arm of the Lord been revealed? He grew up like a sapling before him, like a shoot from the parched earth. There was in him no stately bearing to make us look at him, nor appearance that would attract us to him. He was spurned and avoided by people, a man of suffering, accustomed to infirmity, one of those from whom people hide their faces, spurned, and we held him in no esteem.
Yet it was our infirmities that he bore, our sufferings that he endured. While we thought of him as stricken, as one by God and afflicted. But he was pierced for our offenses, crushed for our sins. Upon him was the chastisement that makes us whole. By his stripes we were healed. We had all gone astray like sheep, each following his own way. But the Lord laid upon him the guilt of us all.
Though he was harshly treated, he submitted and opened not his mouth. Like a lamb led to the slaughter, or sheep before the shearers, he was silent and opened not his mouth. Oppressed and condemned, he was taken away, and who would have thought any more of his destiny? When he was cut off from the land of the living and smitten for the sin of his people, a grave was assigned him among the wicked, and a burial place with evildoers. Though he had done no wrong, nor spoken any falsehood, but the Lord was pleased to crush him in infirmity.
If he gives his life as an offering for sin, he shall see his descendants in a long life, and the will of the Lord shall be accomplished through him.
Because of his affliction, he shall see the light and fullness of days. Through his suffering, my servant shall justify many, and their guilt he shall bear. Therefore I will give him his portion among the great, and he shall divide the spoils with the mighty, because he surrendered himself to death, and was counted among the wicked. and he shall take away the sins of many, and win pardon for their offenses. The word of the Lord.
We thank you for being with us this episode, and we invite you to join us next time as we celebrate Easter. We wish you a prayerful Holy Week and know that we'll be praying for you and with you this week. See you next time.